Order, will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Andrew Benson. Here. Doug Day.
Here.
Bronwyn Losey. Here. Joseph Wetmore.
Here.
Edward Levine.
Here. Can everybody hear me okay?
You're a little quiet, Ed. If you could get a little louder, it'd be good.
Oh, that's interesting. How about now? Is that better?
Pull that microphone closer to
Which
you,
one?
maybe.
This
Yeah,
one?
get the microphone closer to you, but that was better.
How about that? Is that better?
A little bit.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but it's quiet.
Turn your head.
Yeah, turn your head this.
Is this way?
Yeah,
This is on?
it is, but it isn't.
All right, how's this? Is that better?
Yes.
All right. So first order of business here is we have the Cornell University update with questions and answers. CJ, do you have our all-star class ready to jump in?
Yep, we'll admit them now.
Thank you. Give me a signal when you're ready. Hello, Kate, can you hear me?
Yes.
My hello.
Hello, hello.
So, do we have a few people here, I think, if my eyes are correct?
They're listed on the agenda.
I see that. So, is Joel Molina there?
Yes, I am, Ed. Nice to be with you.
Oh, they're without the beard. Okay. Jason Cole, is he there?
I don't think Jason will be able to be with us this evening.
How about Karen Brown?
Karen is here.
Right here.
Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Charlie Krasinski?
I'm here.
Hi, Charlie. Diane Miller?
Yes, I am here.
Hello there.
Hi.
Sure. There you go.
And so was Kate Supran there also? Because I didn't have her listed.
She is.
She is.
Yes, Kate's there too, right, Kate?
Yep, I'm right here.
Oh, there you
Gary
are.
is not going to join us tonight, so it's just. the
Oh,
group we've
Gary's
got.
Oh, Gary Stewart's not going to join us.
Gary.
No,
Oh, you want to?
So I have Jason Cole and Gary Stewart not attending, is that right?
It's perfect. You're doing it right. What can I help you with?
So I guess, Kate, can you just get us started here? How you wanna go through this?
sure. This is part of a long series we've been doing of, we have public Q&A town halls that folks can attend, but we've also thought that it would be helpful to folks if we just showed up at a meeting where that you were already having, to see if you have any questions or concerns or need more information. And we have a really knowledgeable group of Cornell leaders with Joel Molina and Charlie and Diane and Karen with us. So we're just here to, I guess, I'm going to turn it over to Joel.
Thank you, Kate and Ed. Thank you, as well as to the rest of the leadership for allowing us this time. Let me briefly introduce myself and the team, then I'm going to give just some brief top-line updates from a COVID perspective, and then we'd love to spend whatever time you have answering your questions. So I'm Joel Molina. I'm Cornell's Vice President for University Relations. That's a division that includes our government relations in Albany, here in Tompkins County, and in Washington. It also includes communications and visitor relations. Representing me and Cornell as well tonight, we have Charlie Krasinski in our Albany office, Diane Miller in Washington, Kate, Community Relations, and I want to give special acknowledgement and thanks to Karen Brown with our Division of Student and Campus Life, who will be able to address any student-specific questions that I won't know the answers to. I know some of the answers, but not as many as Karen. So I thought I would just spend a few minutes The last week has been noteworthy because we've experienced the second of our clusters. You'll recall at the beginning of the semester, we had a number of student athlete focused clusters, and importantly at the time, those clusters rapidly dissipated. Similarly, late last week, we had the emergence of a single but noteworthy a cluster. And similarly, we've seen over the ensuing days that the numbers have significantly declined. We see this as an important validation of our approach to testing, which I'll remind everyone, we test everybody. We do surveillance testing of all students twice a week, graduate and faculty who are front-facing with our students twice a week, otherwise once a week, and then the staff, depending on how often they're on campus. It could be every other week, as is the case with me, or more frequently for our frontline employees. So that allows us to identify and to immediately isolate confirmed positives. And importantly, in addition to the standard county health department driven contact tracing, we have incorporated what we call adaptive testing, which enables us to do even more analysis of those who are living closely with or working closely with confirmed positives. So this helps ensure that we're able to really capture a real-time sense of the spread of a cluster, and then through isolation, work towards eliminating the positivity, which is what we have been seeing over these last few days. A few other things I'll note. We are approaching Thanksgiving break. As you will recall, most of our students will be leaving campus, returning to their permanent residences, not just to celebrate the holiday, but also to continue and finish our semester virtually. The semester doesn't end until December 21st, I believe. There will be about a few hundred students who will remain for the period between Thanksgiving and the end of the semester in late December. And then between late December and the start of our spring semester, which will be February 8th, there will just be maybe 50 or 60 students remaining on campus. There may be other students off campus. It is their residence. They have long-term leases. So that may, those are numbers that we don't yet quite have firmly in hand, but we will be having a good sense of what those numbers will look like. Importantly, for anyone staying in Ithaca, whether on campus or off campus, they are required to continue with their current schedule of surveillance testing. We don't want to let the holidays serve as any opportunity for us not to be able to keep tabs on the prevalence of the virus during this important period. I will also say that we're making available to our faculty and staff opportunities for those who are already on a testing schedule, but maybe want to adjust that schedule. Do they, because the students aren't here, maybe instead of twice a week, maybe they want to go to once a week or once every 2 weeks. They have that opportunity. Importantly, all of our employees who are not yet in a scheduled testing regimen because they just don't come to campus, they will have the opportunity to sign up for what we're calling supplemental testing. So let's say they have a child returning from a college that is outside of New York State, and they want to have that added level of knowledge as to what their testing status is. We're going to be making that available. Importantly, another adjustment we've needed to make, and this virus has required lots of flexibility over the months. New York State, you all know, adjusted its travel guidelines, its travel policy a few weeks ago. And so we actually sent out today messages to our students and to our faculty and staff, making clear the importance of adherence to that policy. This essentially keeps in place the 14-day required quarantine if you're traveling into New York from states that aren't contiguous or bordering New York State. But it does allow for an alternative opt out of those 14 days if you follow a specific protocol of being tested within 3 days of leaving your state, and then quarantining for 5 days once you arrive in New York, and having a test that's negative before you come in, and then a test on day 4 that you find out about on day 5 after arriving in New York. So it gives the potential, instead of a 14-day quarantine, for essentially a 5-day in New York State quarantine. Let me stop there. We're happy to take questions on any number of issues, COVID related or otherwise. And my colleagues and I believe will be able to respond to just about everything. How's that for a bold prediction?
I'm impressed. I'm impressed with a lot of different things that you're doing, especially trying to take on this huge challenge with minimal amounts of negativity. Your efforts are greatly appreciated, so thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Question I have for the testing is that what type of test are you giving? Is it the swab or is it the saliva?
It is a swab. It is not the nasal pharyngeal all the way up to the far reaches of the nose, but a lower nasal self swab, 10 swabs in each nostril. And we have found that the results are quite effective in terms of us giving a strong sense of where the virus is heading.
Do you have any type of data that shows what success rate it is?
We certainly can get that data for you. I don't have it at the tip of my fingers. What I will note, which is available on our COVID dashboard, which is at covid.cornell.edu, you can see the number of tests that are taken each day going back to the beginning of the semester and the results, the positivity from each day. And then for the given week, we've got the positivity rate for the week, as well as specific cases each day, and for the 3 days prior. We also give an indication there is also in place still the New York restriction that if you have 100 on-campus cases in a 2-week period, we would be required to move completely to remote instruction. And so we have a count on the dashboard there as well.
So what number are you at now?
I believe for that 100 count, we are at about, when we're updated tonight, in fact, it's already been updated, I expect it will see about 40 or so, and that reflects what has been over these last 2 weeks, an uptick, both from this cluster as well as some lingering employee positives that interestingly are primarily from employees that live outside of Tompkins County. As we know, the prevalence of the virus has vastly expanded in areas surrounding us. Admittedly, this 40 number is very high for us. It will be far lower for the next 2 weeks, I'm pretty confident.
So I'm going to open up the questions. We'll go in alphabetical order like we usually do. Andrea, do you have any questions?
Could you tell us, or is this confidential, how many were hospitalized?
I can tell you that none of our Cornell positives are currently in the hospital. We do include in our daily brain trust that looks at test results. Cayuga Health System is part of that, and part of our round table discussions are the state of hospital capacity. We do show on our dashboard what is still a vibrant green in terms of that capacity. The hospital system has done a tremendous job, both in terms of clearing and making available capacity that thankfully has not been needed.
Thank you.
Okay, Bronwyn, any questions?
Not at this point, no.
Okay, move on to Doug.
I'm all set. Great presentation so far.
Thank you.
Okay, Joe?
Yeah, I want to start by saying I think Cornell's done a tremendous job of testing people on a regular basis. And I'll be really interested in seeing what that test results are like. The question Ed had as to exactly how effective this different kind of testing is. But my question is really related to the dashboard, which I check on a real regular basis. And when you look at the confirmed on-campus positives, you give a 2-week period that usually goes from sometime in the past to sometime in the future. So for example, right now, it says it's from 11/7/2020 to 11/20/2020. So you have a 2-week period in which some of the days haven't come yet. And so we're not really seeing a 2-week period of, active, events. And I can't find anywhere on the website where I can look back and see a day-to-day figure so I could, look and see what kind of 2-week periods would happen, or, how it's been going up and down over time. And that historical thing is really important. I know the county gives you historical background so you can see every day's chart. And I think that would be really useful if we could get that for Cornell as well.
Thank you for the question. Let me answer it in 2 ways. First, day-to-day is available if there's a little slide on the chart where you can go day by day all the way back to, I believe, August something or other. So that's available. It's just requiring you to go to the day and the dates that you're interested in. Let me turn to Charlie Krasansky, who could speak to the very unique and very clear directives from the governor on how they calculate this 2-week period. Charlie?
Thank you, Joel. Yes. So this is a really hot topic at the time. And again, it still is really. So as you said, the governor rolled out his Department of Health. They really wanted, they decided in late August that every campus would have a threshold of 100 cases in a 2-week period. And if you hit this number, they decided at the time that was the threshold, regardless of size. Any campus would have to go to all remote. But when they did that, they said it would be a fixed 2-week period, fixed, not a rolling average. I think that's what you were looking at, like a rolling average, 2 weeks back. No, they were very clear, and they put this in their guidance, and we quizzed them about this. And the governor's office, turns out, in the middle of the summer, when they were looking at the cases across the state, they really had it in their mind to look at a fixed 2 weeks and then reset 2 weeks and then reset 2 weeks, not rolling. And they were very clear in their guidance for higher ed that this 100 case limit would be looked at in these discrete 2-week periods. And so they've decided when that 2 weeks begins and ends. And as you said, that's how they told us they want the dashboards to reflect these 2 weeks. And only on campus. Again, so you look at our numbers, we described that in the footnote there on the dashboard, that they really made a distinction, the governor's office and the Department of Health. On campus means students taking classes on campus. These are faculty, staff working on campus. The 100 number reflects those positives, not people who are not coming on campus during the 2-week period.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for our panel? Good. Silence is good. Any questions or any comments that any of your team wants to make?
Well, I would just thank all of you for your public service. This has been a unique time, to say the least. And we are continually impressed by what we are seeing among volunteers, helping their constituents through a very trying time. I tell Kate and Gary Stewart and our community relations team, this is a high point, not just in our collaborations and interactions with these municipalities around us, but it's also a high point in terms of our being able to see the great work that's being done by essentially volunteers. So just a big thank you on behalf of Cornell.
Well, keep up the good work. It's a marathon. So thank you so much.
It absolutely is. And please, we'd be happy to come back, or if there are specific questions that arise, please send them through Gary and we'll get back to you with answers.
We have your contact information.
That's right. You know where to find me.
Okay, my friend. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Have a very good evening. Thank you again.
You too. Bye-bye. Okay. Moving on. Thank you, everyone. CJ, we have Judy Drake next.
Coming right up. Yep.
Thank you.
She is here.
She's here.
She's been.
She just hasn't arrived yet.
No, she has arrived. She's right there.
Hi, Judy.
Hello.
Guess we'll move on to our next topic, which is the United Auto Workers Agreement. So you want to take it from there? Give us some background on what we need to do or should do.
Sure.
Thank you.
Just so, any new board members are aware, when the Bolton Point water system became unionized about 20 years ago, PERB had made a ruling that all 5-member municipalities needed to approve the contract in addition to the commission and the UAW. So that's why it's coming in front of you. I believe you were provided with a summary of the changes that were made. Obviously, wages and health insurance were 2 key topics, but we also made some minor improvements in some of the other benefits. Any specific questions or anything that I can assist you with?
Andre, have any questions? Okay. Brahman, do you have any questions for Judy?
No.
Okay, Doug?
I'm all set, thanks.
Joe?
I'm good, thank you.
Good job, Judy. You gotta teach me how to do that sometime.
Well, and I want to thank Ed because he was on the committee with
Yes.
Rod Howe from Town of Ithaca.
Yep, it's my second time doing that. It was you learn more each time. What the good news is, and we find out the same thing happened when we talk to our highway people up there, was that it was a good discussion, respectful. I think both sides had to give a little, but both sides were very happy. I think that's always a good sign when you don't get everything you want, but you get what you need. And I thank you again for being our navigator through that from my perspective. It's a good place. It's well run. It's well taken care of. And you're one of the reasons why, Judy. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have, I think, a resolution later on, right? That we'll address since no one has any questions now. And we'll move on to our next order of business. I don't think shall you stay on to make sure that the resolution goes through? Is that okay?
I'm going to jump off for a little bit and come back because I got to go attend Village Cuga Heights meeting.
You have another one, right? 7:30.
It's actually the consent
Is it on
agenda.
the consent agenda? Then we're fine then. It's on the consent agenda. We're okay then. Okay? It's all right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next business is we have privilege of the floor. Which is limited to 20 minutes. Moving on to the next business is we have privilege of the floor. Who is this guy? Limited to 20 minutes. Moving on to the next business is we have privilege of the floor. Is this like the Gonzo world? Yeah, I got a good-looking guy I'm looking at. It looks like Dan Vina. I turned into Dan, or you turned into me, right? Oh my goodness. So anyways, let's try this again. We have privilege of the floor, limited to 20 minutes with a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. Do we have anybody that wants to invoke the privilege of the floor?
Yes, I do. Dan.
Dan Vina.
That Dan, yes.
Dan Vina. Okay. Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, well, as some of you know, my last issue of the Lansing Star is going to be December 18th. We have 4 issues left. We're doing one this week. We're skipping Thanksgiving week and then 3 more. And it may or may not be the last of the Lansing Star. We've been trying to sell it. We've had kind of some nibbles, no bites. And so I don't really know what the future of it will be. I'm hoping somebody will want to do it. But the reason that I got on today is to thank the board and the town for the support that you've offered over our 15 and a half years. You were one of our earliest advertisers, and you've continued through the life of the Star. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm very appreciative of that and of all that you do. Not to mention providing news.
Well, to be honest with you, it's been a joy to have you have this electronic paper available. Your fellow colleagues think nothing but the highest praise for you, and I also agree with that.
Thank you.
In a day where we are somewhat skeptical of who's saying what, about what, with what agenda, do what, you always have approached this with integrity. I know other people, other news media have reached out to you for accurate information, which I think is a great sign of their respect for you. And it's going to be a huge void. And it's unfortunate because I can always rely on you to give accurate information, which I think is in high need right now overall, not to be politically one way or the other, but just give us the objective information and let us decide for ourselves. So I thank you so much for your service for the last 15 and a half years.
Thank you, Ed.
Does anybody else on the board want
I'll
to
just say, if you know of anybody who thinks they'd like to do this, send them my way. We can talk. I have all the information and I can get it to them.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
I just wanted to say that we'll really miss you, especially when everybody used to come to the meetings. You contributed a lot, and we'll miss you.
Thank you, Andra. It's really been a pleasure. I always say, all I do is sit there and watch you guys do things, and then write it down.
I want to add that we're going to miss you every Friday when we read what's happening in Lansing online. And I want to thank you for all the work you've done.
Thanks. Thank you, Joe.
Dan, is there any way we can get a pun dictionary that you've put forth?
You can still call me for puns. I'm an O-pun book.
Classic.
Seriously, Dan, thanks so much. You've done a wonderful job, and I echo the sentiment of the remarks we've had so far.
Thank you, Doug. It's really been a pleasure.
Oh, and good luck, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Well, I'm not going anywhere, at least for now.
Yes.
I don't blame you.
We're all locked down. This is the safest place in the country right now, so we're going to stick around for a while.
Okay. Anyone else want to comment? Rowan?
I just want to thank you, Dan, like everybody else has, for it'll be a real void, for sure. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay. Do we have anybody else waiting for privilege of the floor?
Thank you from the Parks and Rec Department as well, Dan. I'm behind the scenes, but
sorry.
really appreciate everything you've done for our department.
Well, thanks. It's really been a great pleasure working with you guys. I think the town is so lucky to have you.
Ditto. Okay. Do we have anybody else in the chat? Privilege of the floor.
CJ, do we have anybody else for privilege of the floor?
Oh, nobody waiting. Nope.
Okay, thanks.
All right, now let's move on. Next order of item 7 on the agenda, which is Lansing Community Library Report. Andrea, do you have anything to add to this?
No, not really, just that they're doing as best as they can and they're following the open hours by appointment. It's exactly what all the libraries in the county, in fact, in the fingerprint system.
Have they finished their feasibility study yet?
You know, that I don't know.
Okay, I know things are somewhat disruptive these last seems like forever.
Yeah.
But, and like I said, it's not a criticism. It's just it just popped in my head. I know they're looking for doing a feasibility study that was going to be done in 3 months, but sometimes, as we all know, this plague has a way of disrupting everyday life. So. It's just food for thought. I mean, next time that you're
Okay,
talking to one of them, just kind of just bring it up in conversation. Next comes the youth service report, which is also in your packet. And next comes Tompkins County legislator Mike Stigler. It's also in your packet. Is he on?
No.
Okay, let's move on then. Next comes the one we've all been waiting for, Park and Rec.
It's also in your packet.
Also in your packet.
Keep going.
You sure you don't want to bring
Nothing to
this?
say.
If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Attaboy. Does anybody have any questions for our department head?
From behind the curtain.
Yes. Door number 2.
Not a question, but I just want to draw folks' attention to the survey and make sure everybody's filling that out about parks and rec and trails and such.
Thank you. Yeah, so far I think we were up to 355 responses.
Great.
If mistaken. So yeah, we're doing really well on that.
Pat, I was wondering about hunting season in the town center lands. Is that open for hunting? Is it not open?
It is not open for hunting. No.
Is it posted that way?
It is posted, and it's posted to be careful because obviously people hunt around the town center land. So it is posted with signs to wear bright colors and keep your dog on a leash.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Pat? If not, we'll move on. Okay, highway superintendent report is just checking if Mike's there. You there, Mike?
I'm actually here, Ed.
Hey! Hello, how are you, my friend?
Hey, good. So, yeah, well, anyways, as you can all see, we got to start off a little fun with the snow season. Not that we were excited about it, but everything's working good in that department and stuff, and took care of that stuff. Been kind of got our brush pile ground back up. I mean, other than that, we're just ready to attack winter as it comes. So.
Well, I gotta tell you, Cricket, they're highly trained due to you, amongst other things, and maybe a little biased, but I think they're the best in the county. So it's just, they do well. And it's very nice that you're going to change with parts. So thank you for all your leadership. Much appreciated.
Well, yes. Well, I can't do it without the support of you folks either. So
excellent. We're going to get into it a little bit later, I'm sure, about other subjects, but that's we have it on our agenda to talk about. Okay.
Yep. Excellent.
Okay. So on that note, this is like an all-star cast tonight, as usual. Director of Planning, CJ, you been doing anything lately?
Hi, everybody.
They're kind of nice. You only limit it down to 2 pages this time. Are you under the weather? Are you holding back or what?
We're hanging in there. I guess the most exciting thing, of course, is that the deadline was extended for the Office of Renewable Energy citing comments. A big thanks to a guy for getting that analysis to us, which I'm still going through. But just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that there are 2 public hearings coming up for the state's Office of Renewable Energy citing regulations on the 24th and the 30th. You can register for those online. And there's a lot of various analysis and comments floating around from American Farmland Trust, from Sierra Club, from Tompkins County Planning. And I've tried to circulate those widely, but definitely get in touch with any questions about that, because that's obviously a huge issue.
Okay, hold that. Debbie has a question for you.
Yeah, for a little clarity, you said there's 2 public hearings on the 24th and the 30th. Are those both in November?
Yeah, so that's November 24th. Let me go to their page real quick. It's November 24th and November 30th. Let me just double check. You can sign up on their website.
And is that the Office of Renewable Energy website? I just want to get it in the minutes right.
Yeah, absolutely. And their website is ores.ny.gov. And they have a little section on the bottom called regulations you can click on. You can see the draft regulations. And then there's also some information on the virtual public hearings, which I guess were today in Rochester and Monday in Buffalo. And then there's statewide public hearings on the 24th at 5 p.m. and November 30th at 5 p.m. all online. So you can submit comments that way as well. So my understanding is there are at least 3 large-scale projects in the queue right now in the ISO queue. And I did submit an article to the Lansing Star, who knew it would be the last, but that hopefully will be published this Friday if Dan can turn that around about this. We're trying to do as much public outreach as we can. I've been working with a group of planning board members who are basically staying ahead of all of this and trying to be aware of all the various moving parts. So of course, if there's any questions, definitely don't hesitate to get in touch. But last, but certainly not least, is that the Conservation Advisory Council has been working on a draft natural resources inventory with the help of Cornell Cooperative Extension. And that document is headed to the planning board and for review this month. And I hope to have it to you for review next month, though, or possibly in January, depending on that review timetable. And it's a really nice document. They've done a lot of great work on it. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that that's on its way.
Excellent. Do we have any questions for our planner? It's always a good sign, CJ.
Okay.
Yeah, as opposed to them all fighting to get to the microphone first. It's all good.
No worries. Happy to answer anything. Yeah, of course. Happy to help.
Okay, thank you. Moving on our packet. We talked about the planner. We have the engineer's report. There's nothing this month. Same thing with the ag committee. And now we move on to the consent agenda.
Need a motion?
Do I have a motion?
Yes, I will move it.
I'll second. So shall we read them?
Yes, we usually just read the title of each one.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
Okay, Andre, you want to do the first one?
Yeah, resolution 20-143. Resolution establishing 2021 sewer rates for all sewer districts in the town of Lansing.
Okay, I'll do the second one. This will be resolution approving the standard workday and reporting for elected and appointed officials. Round one, can you do C?
Can do. Resolution 20-145. Resolution approving collective bargaining agreement with United Auto Workers for Southern Cayuga Lake Intermunicipal Water Commission's employees for 2021 to 2023.
Okay, Doug, will you do D, please?
Resolution 20-146. Resolution approving and authorizing bid documents for town hall and community building custodial services.
Okay, Joe, you do E, please?
Resolution approving audit and budget modifications and supervisor's report.
Okay, Mrs. Munson.
Is there one about the new employee?
Yeah.
That's number 16 by itself.
Oh, it was by itself? I thought you said it was in the.
It wasn't one paper.
I got it separately.
Okay.
It's separate. I thought it
It's all
was.
good.
Okay. Let's see. So,
Did we miss one?
no, I think we got them all.
It should be 5, correct?
Yeah, 20-143 to 20-147.
Okay.
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Doug Dave,
Yes.
Ron Winlosey,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore,
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. Okay, item 16 in your packet, resolution hiring full-time labor for Parks and Recreation Department. Someone so move it.
I'll move it.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, Mrs. Munson?
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Doug Day,
Yes.
Bronwyn Losi,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore,
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. Item 17 in your packet, resolution adopting amended Town of Lansing COVID-19 leave time and travel policies.
I'll move it.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? Is it Benson?
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Doug Day,
Yes.
Bronwyn Losi,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore,
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. For some reason, I have a feeling we're going to visit this a few more times. This is like I want to say it takes on a life of its own. By the way, thank you for all the people who worked so hard on this, and once again, having such a great working relationship with the highway department, because that's huge. So thanks Charmaine and Mike Mosley and everybody else who made a contribution on this. Okay, let's go on to item number.
Mrs. Monson.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just cannot control myself sometimes. Okay.
No, that was just a.
That was just,
I worked on
I was
it.
recognizing.
I was just saying I worked on it.
I was recognizing our town clerk.
Oh, and especially our town clerk.
Yes.
Debbie Munson. Too bad you guys can't see what's going on here. You had a little more chuckle or a little more concern. One of the two. I don't know. Okay, let's go on to the next one. We okay, Mrs. Munson? You want to make sure?
We're fine.
You run the meeting. I just say yes or no. Okay. All right. Next one is resolution authorizing town supervisor to execute highway department building renovation project, building and site programming concept alternatives analysis.
I'll move it.
I'll second it. Any further discussion?
I am questioning why we're moving forward on rebuilding the highway department buildings when we're not sure that we have enough to maintain the roads the way we normally do.
So, who wants to jump on this one? My understanding is that the road maintenance comes out of the DB fund, which is sales tax. The DA fund is your scraping of the roads in the highway department. So those are two different funds, and it's easy to get confused sometimes. So that's where, I know we're talking about sales tax a lot because that seems that it's never leaves the room, but this is coming from the DA fund, which is taxes to the whole town. Does anybody else want to jump in on this? Cricket or CJ? Either one or both.
Well, I mean, I guess that I would just say, I mean, I like I said, we've tried to have this conversation for, I don't know, 10, 12 years. I think the main thing we need to start with is some sort of, plan and design. Like I said before, I mean, I don't say this means that we need to move forward tomorrow and do it, but I think it's important at some point to kind of come up with a model of what it should be and certainly look to the future as far as, we're in a 51-year-old building. I mean, we've outgrown it, years ago, and we keep trying to piecemeal and do things that we can. Mechanicals and stuff like that are, in dire need of upgrades. There again, I know it's a chunk of money to spend, but I think its value, I think CJ would agree too, the value to it would be is coming up with a plan and an idea of how to maybe implement it at some point. But I mean, if we kick the can down the road and don't have any sort of idea where we're going to be at or where we're looking at, I just think it's important to kind of start this process and figure out. Doesn't mean that it has to move forward tomorrow, but it's to put a concept together and figure out where we're at, if it's doable, what options might be. So I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. And like I said, I don't take it lightly. I realize it's taxpayers' money, but at some point, we need to do something different. I mean, we got millions of dollars of equipment that are, that's involved with the building and stuff, and it'd just be, nice to have things inside and certainly, functionable when needed. So.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where we're gonna have to upgrade this building anyways, whether we build a new one or not. We don't have a sprinkler system. And even though we have insurance, it's a 14-month wait period to get a truck. We got outside waiting to get burned up because these automatic ignitions, they seem to like to ignite for some reason without our starting them. That's one of the concerns. You know, we have electrical systems that need upgrading. We have ice that's on the inside of the buildings, amongst other things. And at some point, especially right now, money is pretty cheap. Talking to Jeff Smith from Municipal Solutions, we're looking at probably less than 2.5%. You know, we can have that discussion later. Right now, this is like you get in the exam to find out what we can do here. And, you know, we're either going to put this to rest, we're going to come up with plan B, C, or D, but this is something that needs to be addressed now. It's part of the plan. We've gotten the equipment stabilized, we've got the building with the cold storage, we have other stuff around here we've done to upkeep. Now we go after the main thing right now. And, you know, Cricket's done, and Mikey's been doing marvelous with duct tape and chewing gum, but that has its limits. And once again, 51 years old. Is what that building is, and we don't know what the life is left into that. And once again, I see this as just getting some answers and getting some options. Because CJ, help me with this. Is it 4 different plans they'll come up with that they can come up with this amount of money that we're going to allocate? If we allocate it, not to exceed 40,000, is that up to 4 plans?
Yeah, I think the intention is to offer at least 4 different, what are we calling it here? Concept alternatives. Just to back up a little bit, the town did authorize a needs assessment. I think it was maybe 2.5 years ago. And there was some, you know, kind of good spitball numbers that came out of it as far as construction costs. But as you recall, about 7 months ago, we asked to issue the RFP so that we could really get a sense broadly from architectural and engineering firms who specialize in this kind of municipal, specifically highway department work, you know, to see what ideas were out there, what costs we were looking at. And the firms that really, I think, impressed the evaluation committee were ones that said, hey, look, we really need to dig into this and figure out what exactly is going on this site. If there are other sites that might be, you know, equally as other town-owned lands that might be running in the consideration, whether you want to take this down to grade and start over again. And so it finally came down to these 2 firms, and both Mike and Cricket had interviewed both firms and also went, and they could say more about this, but went in and looked at some of the buildings that the architecture and engineering firm who's been selected worked on. And I think they really, the evaluation committee put a lot of thought into this. You're, of course, welcome to see the weighted decision matrix that they worked on. We got 22 proposals and cost proposals. And I think Bergman just really impressed the evaluation committee with their thoroughness and also this approach, which really allowed the town to investigate this to its fullest and really get a good solid number on construction costs. Like, you know, so we know going forward what the project looks like. To work with a firm like Bergman means that they'll have in-house grant support, as well as administrative or architectural and engineering full service firm. And so, yeah, I think this is a really great way to really understand the scope of what's going on there and what the highway needs for another 50 years. So just my take.
Okay, Andrea, any questions? Bronwyn, do you have any questions?
Thanks, everybody, for the insight.
Okay. Doug?
Other than, I think we're still in the infancy of this. I know we've had a lot of years with it, or several years with it, but certainly we get an idea of what we want, when we can actually proceed. So I think it's important to keep planning this way.
Okay, Joe, any more comments?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that I have no question that there are things that need to be done right away. We need to put a sprinkler system in the town barns. It's really risking a lot to not have that kind of protection on all the equipment we have there. And I certainly recognize how the barns have been kind of retrofitted and put together in a not fully organized manner. And so I don't have any question about the need for this. I'm just worried about cash flow on a time when the economy is kind of iffy. This is a $40,000 consulting budget. Is it in our budget for next year? I don't remember seeing it there.
No, it's not in our budget for next year. We can make a budget mod just like we did when we increased our door out there by 40 grand. We can do the same.
Okay, so this would come out of our reserve funds.
No, it would come out of the fund balance.
Fund
Or
balance, I'm sorry, you're right.
it can come out of there.
Okay.
But also, the other thing is that our mortgage tax is 58,000 more than projected.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
So that gives us a little wiggle room as far as that goes.
So the different scenarios that this pays for, does that include a minimal scenario in which we just do some of the necessary things immediately, or is it are all four of them a basic redo of the building completely in some way or other?
Well, I think part of it, and I don't want to speak for the rest of the team that did, this analysis and everything, but there are the conversations were renovate or build new. And so those conversations came up, and we can have that conversation with them if this gets passed and if the money is allocated, where they say, okay, what do you want done? Do you want to have this scenario of if you had to refurbish this, what would it take? And that conversation can be had as far as that goes, because that might be an option. And quite frankly, a lot of times you find out what you can do by finding out what you can't do. And we'll see where it goes.
Well, my understanding was that this was going to give us 4 different scenarios and approximations of how much they would cost. And I'm just trying to understand what the 4 different scenarios are.
Well, I said up to 4 different scenarios. For instance, do you build it next door? Do you build it on other town land? Where else do you renovate it? Do you knock it down and put it where it is now? Those are all conversations we can have with Bergman as far as this goes. I think that the highway department has some thoughts as far as different ideas. One of them was perhaps on town land as a discussion. And those are different scenarios that we can explore. Do you want them to come in and they can meet with us? And we can have them maybe in December?
Well, I'm just interested in what we're actually approving. Are we approving a contract that has some specific scenarios worked out as to directions that they're going to work on, or is that the next step that's going to happen?
No, I think that 40,000 will cover, for instance, a brand new building. Where's it going to go? What's it going to include? How much it going to cost? Go on the soccer fields on the other side of Verizon Drive? Is it going to go elsewhere? Where else going to go? Those are all discussions to have. CJ or Cricket, you want to jump in on this at all?
Yeah, Joe, I was just going to say, in the packet, I don't know if you saw it, but there were 2 different presentations. They came to speak with the evaluation committee twice. And if I could I'll just show you really quick here. These were the 4 scenarios. So this is the kind of the project approach, just kind of overall programmatic, thinking about the programming for the renovation. And then we have option 1 to renovate the existing, option 2, new building on site, new building across the way or at other town lands as well, could be an option, other town owned property. And then option 4, renovation and new. So you could take a look at the presentation that's in the PDF there. There's 2 different versions. The second version explains their design build process as well. So.
Okay, excellent. That answers my question. Thank you, CJ.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, any other discussions?
So where are we going to allocate the money at some future date, or is this allocate the money in this resolution?
It allocates in the resolution.
It allocates in the resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Mrs. Munson?
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Doug Date,
Yes.
Bronwyn Losi,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore,
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. Okay. Now we have board member reports. So we'll start with Andrea.
Alrighty, the two are already in your packet, which is library and Lansing Youth Services.
I'm
Okay.
having trouble hearing you, Andrea. Could you speak louder, please?
Okay?
Better, thank you.
Two of the committees that I go to, well, but anyway, the Lansing Library already have their report on Lansing Youth Services. I also attended the CAC committee, and as CJ reported, we worked on the natural resources inventory, and also talked quite a bit about the solar panel farms and how much footage you'd leave from where the farm starts to residential houses. It was a very, very good meeting. And then I attended the Environmental Management Council meeting, presentation by the community choice aggregation about electrical co-ops that different towns and counties have. So that's it.
Excellent, thank you. Bronwyn?
Almost all of the committees I'm on, their November meetings were postponed or canceled. The only one that's not is happening right now. So the alternate is going to that. So I don't have a lot to update. The Lansing Advisory Council on the Power Plant Future is looking to, probably after the weather gets warmer and we can get together in person more easily, take a tour of the land to get a physical idea of what we're talking about and what we're looking at. But other than that, I don't particularly have anything to report this month.
Okay, so which land are you making reference to?
I believe we're thinking of the power plant land itself. CJ reached out to Jerry to see about just looking at it, and so we know what we're talking about.
Excellent. Is this for where the solar panels might go? Or in general, or what?
In general, I think.
Okay, well, good.
Just to,
good. And Jerry, I'm sure Jerry Goodnow was fine with that and everything. So I give you a tour.
yeah, and he said, let's figure it out when he's around and it makes more sense to do. But
good. Good. Okay. Thank you. Doug?
Yep.
All right, well, the 26th of October was the last planning board regular meeting. Several action items occurred. One, the Cargill mine lower salt pad shed. The ZBA approved for the 55-foot height variance. There are several other small concerns, the distance from the creek at 100+ feet, which we answered by Cargill employees. And they also were going to supply a rendering of the roof color for this structure. Planning board did an environmental review, was a negative declaration, and they passed the final site plan with that. The Cuba Lake National Bank came ahead again. Did a determination of environmental significance. It came up as a negative declaration. One resident of Franklin Drive wanted a letter of concern read into the public comment. Savage Club of Ithaca was approved for their endeavor on Route 34. And retail store minor subdivision on Auburn Road. The planning board took on as the lead agency. That was about it. So, and they also had a meeting I believe it was last Monday, not this past Monday, but the Monday before, working meeting, and basically kept working on their audit with the intent of finishing it that night. But if you've been to a planning board meeting, they talk a lot. So it wasn't quite completed. Anyway, so that's all I got.
Oh my, oh my. Okay, Joe.
Okay, we had a TCOG meeting on October 22nd, in which it focused a lot on the whole fiber issue of bringing in internet to the community. Anna did a presentation at that. And it looks like the county study, the group that's going to work at it is going to come through TCOG. So the TCOG is looking at putting together a committee to help be the client committee for that study. Doug gave a fine presentation on the 2 planning board meetings. I'll just add that on the November 9th meeting, the committee talked about solar law revisions. Mike's been talking with them about it a lot.
Thank you, Joe.
And then the Transportation Council meeting last Tuesday, they talked a bit about the Ludlowville Bridge. They're hoping to have that back in on the 2nd week of December. They're moving along slowly because this is the part of the process where they have to do an element, wait a few days for that element to cure, and do the next stage. But they're hoping to get that in. And the Route 34 bridge, as 34B bridge, as people have probably noticed, is closed at this point. They're going to hope to have it done by December of 2021. There's going to be a major dropping of the bridge into Salmon Creek at some point this winter. DOT is planning on filming it so people can watch it online. I asked about concerns about the debris in the creek back flooding to those neighbors just upstream, and they assure me that the bridge debris will not block the stream to the point that it backs up at all, and they are intending on removing all the stuff that drops into the creek out of the creek again right away. So those are my updates for now.
Okay, so how's the broadband committee coming?
The broadband committee was scheduled to meet on election night, and we figured nobody would make it that night. So we're going to be meeting the first Tuesday in December, and we have a lot on our agenda for that.
Good. Okay. So we're all very busy. You saw we went to the bullet point, the contract negotiations. We went through that process, and that'll be another 3 years before that happens again. We also, Charmaine and I watched a series for a month of 4 Fridays of modulars for the safety committee. This was through PERMA, and Jenna and Heather will now be the head of that, and I'll work with them along with the highway department to have our safety plans in place, a new level, and they will be in charge of that. We're very excited to have Scott Rafferty full-time now as a mason. There's a lot of concrete work that has to be done, and Patrick has been salivating ever since, and I think he'll be, I don't think he'll stop smiling for a month. So the thing I liked about Mr. Rafferty also is the fact that not only do we have so we say deputy in charge of the park now, we also have the deputy, you say Owen, in charge of the rec department up here. But Scott Rafferty is kind enough to show Owen a lot of different things, so he's mentoring him. So getting a lot of education there, which would be critical. We also have Frank in the bullpen in case we need him. So we'll keep him on and bring him back next year. So as we try to do when we hire full-time employees, what value can you give to the town besides your energy? And there's a certain skill set that he has, and we have other projects lined up for Mr. Rafferty to do, which will save the town a lot of money because we won't have to hire it outside of the employees here. Also, Air Service Board, we had a meeting Monday. flight travel. It's a tough time to be in the flight business. They don't know when that's going to actually peak. Estimates are that's going to be one of the last businesses that actually gets up and running, makes a profit. The good news between Roxanne Noble and Josh Nally and my call up there at the airport, they turned I believe, a $700,000 deficit into a $1.2 million surplus. So we have a huge safety net there, not like some other airports where the taxpayers have to constantly feed them money. They've done an excellent job, and they should be commended for that. So we're very strong fiscally as far as that goes. The door works nice, works very nice as far as that goes. And I'll segue that into my comment here, because it does involve the town, is that you probably saw on Facebook, we're starting the winter clothing giveaway. And I'll be out under the pavilion this Saturday with the boxes of clothes. People can come and just take what they want. It's all free. The reason I'm saying that is because we also work with Patrick that we may have to move this into the community center on Saturdays. We're hoping to do every Saturday from 12:30 to 3:30. And eventually we'll have to move it into the community center. My question to the board is, are you comfortable with allowing bags to be dropped off where the food is in that area here also? We have a drop box down by the Methodist Church. If you're comfortable, the bags can be just grabbed every day, put in my office if I'm not here, and then I'll shuffle them off to a staging area, if you're comfortable with that. If you're not comfortable with that, there's no wrong answer. But we're simply trying to get different distribution centers. We're also trying to get some continuity with our community, that even though the virus is here, we're still out and about, and we'll help any way that we can. I've also reached out to Milton Meadows as far as that goes, because their community center is not available, because I would have put a lot of clothing over there to have them look at it. So I worked with Renee over there. They have a monthly email, and people have sent me their wish list. And so I'm collecting clothing for them also, and I'll give it to Renee, and she'll give it to the residents over there also, as we start those and continue strengthening our relationships with the residents of Milton Meadows. So let's circle back to, is the board comfortable with having that a drop center out there? If yes, okay. If not, okay too. It's your call. Yes.
So you're talking about putting it inside the 2 double doors, right? Because.
The 1 double door.
Okay, so then you have a problem with the doors moving. If there's things there, they won't shut because you can't have it.
Thank you. You got my answer. So in the future, if we need to put a drop box up here, we'll have that conversation later. How's that?
Can be outside the door,
All right, it could be outside.
like where the food's entry.
Well, I think if that's going to be the case, I'll come back to the board and ask them if I can build a box and that one there like I do for the church. So thank you, Mrs. Munson. You shaved off 20 minutes. You do want to get out of here. Okay, excellent.
See you, bye.
Okay, so I guess if no one else has any questions, we'll move on to the work session, the ethics. Do you have any new information or new things?
Well, I'm not sure if we got to the part in my previous correspondence in which the Board of Ethics should say in this law that any directions to the town board to make recommended changes to the law should be put in a separate document and not included in one of their decisions, so that that document can be made public.
You talking about policy changes?
Yeah, I'd like to put it in the law saying that the Board of Ethics, if they're going to make recommendations, that needs to be a separate document and not part of one of their decisions.
Well, anytime a policy change is recommended, I believe it has to go through the board.
Right, but I want their recommendation to be a separate document that is given to the board and not put in one of their decisions on an ethics question.
I'm not following, because if anytime there's a policy change, they always make recommendations to the board and there's a discussion about it. So it's public.
I understand, but the last time they did this, they made it part of the decision on your ethics question, which meant that their policy question was not made public. And I think that when they tell the board that they want us to change the ethics law, that they have specific recommendations for us to do something, that should be in a separate document, not part of somebody's ethics question.
Well, there is things that was an advisory question, which is what I asked them, an advisory question, because no one came forward, which were making the accusations against me. And I'm still waiting for that person or persons to come forward because the day of reckoning is still waiting. So having said that, it's an advisory, and I think they also work quite well with the Association of Towns for their guidance. So there's certain things that they don't give public. That was their decision. I'm going to bring Guy in on this discussion because perhaps he can shed a little more light onto what the parameters are we can work with this. Guy?
Well, I'm going to take the position that I think that that's a good idea, Ed and Town Board, because what Joe is saying is that the advisory opinions themselves, whether they're on an investigatory or complaint basis or on an advisory or referral basis, or even whether they're helping some other board or agency tackle a question or to give advice, those are almost always absent a specific type of finding of wrongdoing, not subject to FOIL or the open meetings law. They're confidential. They're personnel matters, so to speak. So what I think Joe is saying is that when they go beyond the actual findings in relation to whatever it is they're advising upon or looking at, and actually making general policy recommendations about the town's ethics law or ethics policy. In other words, if they say, hey, we might want to have this provision added to our law for future reasons, I think what Joe is saying is, let's have a rule that be a separate document so that we don't have all these hurdles of FOIL and have to go back and get the board to restate it or get permission to disclose it. Because there really is nothing confidential about that aspect of the matter, and having the ethics board separate that so the town is aware of what their policy recommendations are and can discuss those without being slowed down or impeding upon those matters which are confidential. I think that's a good idea.
I mean, you can give recommendations. I think is what you're alluding to.
Yeah, I think Joe is just saying that those types of policy recommendations should be set forth in a separate document and not as part of an underlying opinion or decision or guidance. Is that right, Joe?
That's correct.
Joe, have they ever done that before?
They did this in the last decision, in which they made a bunch of recommendations for changes in the town's ethics law that were part of the advisory decision to Ed. And so those recommendations were part of the confidential discussion, as opposed to being a public document that could be more easily discussed in full public view.
Okay.
So maybe in the future,
That makes sense.
maybe in the future, if there's recommendations to be made so that the procedure could be more effective, that's fine as long as they make it a separate document. I understand what you're saying. When it's included in that document, then it's, you know, what do you do? Black out part of it and give their part? I understand what you're saying. By the way, there was no impropriety found. I'd like to get that out there because somebody threw that in my face again about a month ago. And for the record, there was nothing found. Of course, when someone does this, they have to have somebody accuse me too, which once again, I'd love to find out who those people are because like I said, you know, anyways, having said that, I have no problem with that moving forward. It's just that how do we implement that into the policy?
I think the policy should say that recommendations to the town board about changes to the ethic law or policies themselves should always be in a separate document. And I think we should put that in our ethics law so that we don't have this problem in the future. So it's really clear to the board. If you want to tell the town board that you have a recommended change in policy or a change in the law, that's always done as a separate document to the town board.
Okay, anything else?
Well, I've been looking at the county law as recommended, and I think the county law has a lot of interesting aspects to it that we ought to consider. For example, their introduction, I think, is cleaner than ours. Ours talks about how the public tends to downgrade government actions. I think there's a negative aspect to the way ours is written, whereas this one is much more clean and saying, if we all follow these ethics rules, things are better, as opposed to kind of a snipe at the public, which I think our current law has. I like that the county law has an expansion in terms of definitions. So for example, they define the word interest, which I know is always a sticky question as to whether someone has an interest in something or not. Well, the county law defines that and ours does not.
Which page are you on? Joe, which page are you on for the county?
Second page.
Under D?
Yeah.
Okay.
It also defines gift and relative, and I think those are key definitions that need. Okay. I think those are key definitions that ought to be added to the town law.
Okay.
I think the standards of conduct in the county's law are much more clear. Ours use vague terms, whereas the county tries to spell out specifically what kind of prohibitions there are. And I think that the clarity in that will help both officials and other people in the town understand exactly what the issues are.
Which page are you on, Joe, for standards?
Page 3.
Still on 3? Okay.
Their standards of conduct is much more specific than ours. Ours uses much more vague language. And I think the specificity will help people when reading this. Page 4, recusals. I think ours does not go into nearly as much detail as the county one does. And I think the county's detail, again, will help guide people in when best to recuse. Page 6 has a whole section on gifts and gratuities and political solicitations. And I think, again, that the specificity will help guide us in the future, as opposed to just saying vaguely that these kinds of things shouldn't be done. That's on page 6. And on page 11, it specifically says that the code of ethics gets distributed and how it gets distributed. And I think that's a really important part too. And we'd like to see that added to our ethics law.
So I think what would be helpful if you could take all your recommendations and take our Board of Ethics report and put them in red and add them to it. And then we can look at it and discuss it next time.
Can someone send me that as a document that can be edited? Because right now the only copy I have is the online version that's a PDF, and I can't edit it.
Can you do that for us?
I don't have that software.
Joe, you can go to the code site and highlight each section and download it in a Word format.
I will try that, but I've been very unsuccessful in doing that in the past. It's always been undownloadable for me.
Well, I can sort of do it while we're sitting here and I'm listening, and hopefully I'll get that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Thanks, Guy.
Thank you, Guy. Okay. Anything else for the ethics discussion?
I will try to get you something for the December meeting.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Okay. Moving on then. Do we have anything for executive session?
Yeah, I would like to talk about some litigation that is against the town, and I would also like to talk about potential property acquisition, of which, if we were to talk about it in open session, might affect the price of the properties.
So Joe has moved it. I'll second it. Any further discussion?
Well, hang on a second, please. So which one on here was, something about a contract, right?
Yeah, there's an acquisition of land.
The litigation, so the proposed pending current litigation, that was the one, right?
Yes.
And,
Acquisition of property.
number 3 there.
You got it. Proposed acquisition, sale, lease of real property from where publicity might affect value.
Okay, I got it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Is Doug in there?
Doug?
Yeah, I said aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, that was it.
And I would suggest that CJ would be good to stay in on these discussions.
Okay. I'll stop the live stream.